Hey, beautifuls. I think we're up and running. Just doing a quick check here to see if that is the case. Yep, looks to be. All right. Let me just do a quick check here for running. Just doing a quick check. There we go. All right, awesome. Okay, so last night I was opening up a session for we had a meeting at the Crossroads session about InnerCartography that's starting up this next week. So tomorrow, Friday, the 5th of November, is our last day for registration. That gives me time to pull all the charts, get everything printed and laid out, and everybody into the Discord room. So I'm requesting that if you have interest in this InnerCartography delve, let me know by the latest by tomorrow, okay? What I want to do a little bit in this overview video is I have my streaming software set up to be able to share my screen. And I want to run through, I have like 6 different things that I want to show you. And this is to kind of give you from an overview arc of what is Alchemy of the Seasons, how is this a part of Nematon, what does the long arc of this school look like, and then where are we inside of this InnerCartography delve. And I want to give you a little bit of orientation around the Discord that we use to run the class from, as well as a little bit of a, these are the charts that we're working with, this is the workbook, these are what course folders look like, and then the thing we'll wrap up with at the end is just a quick peek at the InnerCartography Matrix. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to click here, and we're going to share my screen here. Okay. Is that doing what I wanted to do? We shall see. Let me do a quick peek here. Yes. Okay. So, if you come to mountainwomanmedicine.com, you'll see up here at the very top in my browser, and you're going to want to click on the Alchemy of the Seasons tab. That's going to bring you to the Alchemy of the Seasons tab, where the first thing you're going to see is like, what is the current course that's up. So right now we're starting with the InnerCartography delve. You'll see that it says from November to April. There are many get off the ride and get on the ride sort of entry points. There is always an exit point. You can choose at any point to stop. We invite you to let us know if we're not in the middle of like a meeting of the Crossroads session where we have like a break that's happening, where people are coming on and or leaving, and it's an obvious thing. If you're leaving mid-season or mid-month, mid-module, we ask that you check in with us. Otherwise, you can go month by month as long as you want. If you're stepping out of something while we're inside of human design, so human design runs for 3 months. And so if you come for the first month and then you step out for the second month, it's not as it's not that you can't, it's that you will be most likely lost if you come back in on the 3rd module. Once we move on to the gene keys in February, that's a different story. We're starting with a different system that's inside of InnerCartography, and many people do learn and do things in very many different orders. So when you scroll down through here, you kind of come into the, you know, a welcome to the Alchemy of the Seasons School, where you can register for classes, you can join the Discord, and this is to join the community Discord. So there's a community, a Nematon Mountain community Discord, and there's an Alchemy of the Seasons school Discord. We moved the school Discord out of the Nematon one so that we could simplify it. So that as people were joining the Discord, they weren't being distracted by all the other things that were going on and having a more difficult time navigating the Discord. All right, so when you do join, we invite you to join both, right? You definitely want to be in for the Alchemy of the Seasons one, which is the one that you will get access to when you register. And then you can come join the community one anytime that you want. You can learn more about the human design delve on that link that my cursor is on. The one below it, you can learn more about InnerCartography, which is, InnerCartography is a system that has its own processes and practices around using many different systems, right? It uses human design and gene keys, it uses astrology, I Ching. We're starting to work with a little bit more with cardology. We're working with emotional bridges. We bring in language overlating. There's a whole bunch of different nuanced systems that come together that when they're lens stacked, woven, and interrelated, give us a really multi-dimensional picture of what's going on. Down here at the very bottom, this last little link here is learning more about the Alchemy of the Seasons School. So this is the one that I want to drop you into in just a moment. If you were to keep scrolling here on this page, you could learn a little bit more about the delve that's coming up right now. So November, December, January, modules 1 through 3 in the human design aspect. And so you can read about that through here. If you know anything about human design, this gives you clues as to what things we're covering and in what order. This is kind of like your deadlines, right? Last day to register, November 5th. First day of class, November 9th, right? And then we run 9th, 16th, whoops, that's a mistypo right there. And then also the 30th. So we're running through actually 4 weeks in the month of November because I want to tag in an extra class on variables. For certain folks, looking at variables in the beginning stages of their experiment is a super helpful thing as it relates to identifying in our bodies where we can start experimenting, like our perspective, our motivation, the environments that we create in our houses around us or that we live in, and those dynamics. There's a bit on the exchanges, and again, there's more registration things at the bottom. And down here, you can click to read the last InnerCartography newsletter, which has another buttload of information that you can kind of read through and see different things that are available. All right, let's go back up here, and we're going to pop over to the Alchemy of the Seasons School just for a moment. Okay, so Alchemy of the Seasons School is part of Nemeton's nonprofit. It's a branch of Nemeton's nonprofit. Nemeton is a human earth sanctuary and learning community. We are stationed physically on land between Endicott and Owego, New York, and we've got a 5-acre parcel of land on the side of one of the mountains here that lets us do this work regularly, grow the gardens, grow medicines, grow food, connect with people, host events, right, and generally engage deeply with this lifestyle. The things and practices that you hear me talking about in classes or in these videos comes from a lifestyle of living this, living inner cartography in the daily life, living in working in this sort of realm. So, like, I don't work a job. I don't work for humans. It's really nice to be clear about that right from the get-go. Is for me, I don't work for humans. I work for the land and I work for spirit. I work for what feels like I'm being called towards. And that calling for me is a call towards responsibility, finding where I am able to respond, being accountable, finding where I am able to be in account with what is going on, integrity, creating systems and stabilizations both inside myself as well as inside of communities and things that request and recognize and want that aspect of things. So, all right, let's get back into here. There's a little bit about AOTSS, where it was founded, what branches of the mountain it's connected with, what its purposes are, right? Its 3 main purposes, as I've come to understand it, is to bring medicines to the people, to bring healers to their medicine, and to support integrity, wisdom, perseverance, responsibility, accountability, and self-care through training for leaders, teachers, and healers of tomorrow. Our mission is to walk our talk in a very short perspective way. There is a multi-year trajectory here in the school for those that feel called to journey in through something deeper, right? So there's first years, second years, third years, fourth years, fifth years, 6 years. And each one of them has a goal that they're looking for. What I'm working with this year is predominantly first years. This is foundational exploration. The more advanced years are becoming part of different pieces that are going on. So, for example, Touchstones is another system that is coming into being that is designed to help support communities and events in creating safe containers and habitats for their communities to be inside of. And what does it look like to actually have those con and conversations where we can choose action now? Thank you, JWoww and Planet. All right. The 4 different branches of the school, right? So in all of this talk about InnerCartography, not to overwhelm you even more, just to kind of give you scope, InnerCartography is one branch in the Alchemy of the Seasons School. The other 3 branches are herbal medicine, ceremonial and journey work, and then pillars. And pillars is about the process of growing into a pillar of the community. So there's more information that you can read on here. It's not too terribly long. This gives you a few more links about other places to go to. So I just wanted to give you a resource where when you hear me talking about all these things, you can actually come back and read. And please understand, all of these things are always in a state of being built. Most things in my life are not like a concrete, solid thing. They're living documents. They are living experiences. These classes, these delves, this is me inviting those who feel the call to come join this yearly delve that I myself go on. This is, what am I heading into? My 13th year, 12th or 13th year inside of this yearly delve into this InnerCartography Matrix that gives me a perspective outside of myself for where I might find myself inside of it and capable of stepping up more deeply. Okay, I'm going to call that right there. Let's go over to the Discord real quick, and I want to introduce you to what that looks like. So this is a Discord. This is where we're in one Discord server called the Alchemy of the Seasons School. If you look on the left-hand side of my screen, you're going to see all of these little spheres, these little bubbles that are down the side here, right? Those are each of the servers. Those are also each different messages, right? So the Mountain Woman Medicine and Nematon, this is the community Discord. And so there is a lot going on. The second column here is all your channels. The middle bracket that's in the center that's really big, that's where all the messaging's happening. And then the little column over here on the right-hand side is all the people that are a part of that. So are part of that channel that you're looking at. And that's because sometimes the channels that are over on this side are private channels. And some of them are public, right? So let's get out of this server and go over into Alchemy of the Seasons. Alchemy of the Seasons is a much smaller one. I'm actually going to close down some of these categories so you can see it in an even easier fashion. All right, so right up here at the top, we're at the AOTSS admin office. So I went to college years ago for many years and loved the layout of being able to know that I need to go to these different places in this building to manage everything for the semester. In this case, for the module or the semester. People can choose whether they want to come in for a module at a time, which is a module is a month in our world, or they can come in for an entire season, and that season might mean the fall-winter season of human design, InnerCartography. It might also be the whole of the winter and the spring, where it's the whole InnerCartography season for the year. All right, so hopefully this helps to make sense and orient a little bit. When you first come into the AOTSS Discord, you're going to end up in the Start Here channel. And this is giving you a little bit of orientation about what's going on here, what's helpful, what's the etiquette for this Discord, and ways to get in touch with us if things are happening that are not okay, right? We invite you to welcome yourself, introduce yourself inside of the Welcome Portal channel, and folks will pop up these little cute emojis they give us and saying, hey, how you doing? And it's a way of introducing yourself to the community. There's an announcements channel. If you have a Discord, you can come to this channel and click follow and have these announcements show up in your Discord if for some reason you feel that your folks might really love what's going on here. You can look at our curriculum list. And this is only going to show us just a little tiny piece of it because the other categories are hidden down further. But this kind of gives you an overview of the different InnerCartography possibilities, the different sectors of delving. And not all of these things run every year. I tend to run the human design and the gene keys every year, and one or two of the levels of the gene keys depending on who's there. I think this year I will be opening up the Pearl sequence, potentially, depending on interest. So this kind of gives you a glimpse of being able to see what's what, how long do they run, what's their descriptions like what are they about, and so you can kind of get a deeper sense of what's going on in that curriculum list. The calendar can be really helpful. If you click on this link here in the calendar, it'll open you up to a Google Calendar and you can see how the classes are laid out. Registration link. Here's where you come if you're in the school and you're like, oh, right, end of the month is coming up, I want to register for the next module. Or if you want to say, oh, screw it, I want to just register for the whole thing. There's different options to be able to select one at a time or multiples. You can register here, and then you can make exchanges down here. Quick note on exchanges. And I'm actually going to come back for a moment and talk to you. So I'm going to come out of my shared screen. When it comes to exchanges, my darlings, there's a few truths that you need to understand that would be helpful for you to understand to move forward. First off, we are a nonprofit and we function entirely on donations and exchanges within the community. We've been here for 10 years. We're not going anywhere. And we do rely upon that support. That's one piece. Second piece, we're here to serve the community. We want to create environments where people can come and feel connected in these times where everything is so separate, where we don't feel like we have family, we don't have villages that are taking care of things. So inside of this school, there's community aspect. There is just the weekly, not just for diminutive sake, and there is the come to a session and absorb and take in whatever medicine may land. And there's also the, I'm here for really deep exploration. I want to learn this system. I want to apply this system. And I want to get as far as I can get in this semester or this year. And there's also the fourth one of, I really feel like I'm called to this in kind of a longer term sort of way. And you build into that piece, right? So the exchanges are set at the $250 a month as a standard rate that shares and shows the values of where and how all of this has come about. That doesn't mean that that is what you need to pay in order to come, okay? Brandon and I have had many conversations and will continue to have conversations of how best to support people, whether that's with payment plans, whether that's paying a lesser amount, right? At very minimum, I would love to see people be able to and want to exchange like $23 a month, right? It's not about the money for me. It is about the community. And we do need that in order to exist. And I don't want to say no, right? So as long as there is enough value coming in the totality for what it is that I'm expending energy for, it takes me about 15 to 20 hours a week to run these courses and these delves. So that's just how much volume of time that it takes up, because this is my passion, right? If I was doing this only for myself, which I would be doing regardless of whether or not I'm doing it with you, it's about 5 to 6 hours a week for myself. So in opening it up and doing it with community, there's a certain rate at which it needs to be able to be valuable with my time. Otherwise, I should do other things so the mountain still has other things coming in. And I want the connection for you all. I want, if you have this yearning in your heart for either community, for deep dives, for deep learnings, for any of those aspects, please reach out and ask. Do not be intimidated by the numbers. Those numbers are there to show the value of what this is worth, right? Like we all need to be valuing ourselves in a much deeper way. And building in conversations where we tease apart the details. So you might get asked if you're coming in and you're like, okay, I don't know what to do about this exchange thing. Can we talk? First thing you'll get asked is, well, where are you at with it all? What's your world like? Where's your abundance at? And if you come up and say, well, I can't do anything, it's like, well, let's talk about that. Let's see. Because the more we put into something, the more we get out of it also. Right? So there's an equality of exchange that happens in the energetic world as well. And so we're looking for win, win, win. Win for you, win for us, and a win for something that is greater than us. And part of that greater than us is us being able to come into community and do stronger things together because we're not alone. Okay, so that's my rant on the exchanges. Don't feel intimidated by the numbers. Reach out. If you have interest in this and the numbers are intimidating, just reach out and we'll have a very easeful conversation. Okay, I'm going back to sharing my screen now. That button. Okay. In Discord, there is a tech help channel. So if you get in here and you're like, I've never been in Discord, I don't know how to use Zoom, I don't know how to do all these things, come ask your questions in the tech channel, and Brandon and I will do our best, and Stephine as well, will do our best to help you out in this process. And the first night of class, we'll spend a few minutes getting oriented for anybody who doesn't know what's going on or who is feeling lost. When you get entered into a class, what that's going to look like is you get added to one of the classes that gets built into these facilitated courses. right? So the one coming up for this next week's delve isn't up here yet. So you're just seeing some of the old ones. There's a class Zoom room channel that is a static channel that when you click on it, all it is simply the Zoom information. You're not even going to really be able to write. It's a read-only channel. And so you come here each Wednesday night and you click here, right? And it reminds you 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. on Wednesdays Eastern Standard Time. Right? So if you're across the country in another area, you're going to want to adapt for those time changes for yourself. So I'm just going to dive into one of the courses just for a moment to show you what it looks like. So when you first come to, I'm going to scroll right up to the top. When you first come into, there's a lot, hold on, let's get to the top. There we go. So first off, there's the coding, right? This says IC1 GKM1-2. That means InnerCartography 1 Gene Keys, Module 1 and 2, right? And so there's a coding that I use because I can't put all those words, and I'm trying to orient someone into where we are. Because in the spring, we might be in the herbal medicine side, and so those codes change as time goes by. What you get when you first come in is a welcome and orientation letter. In this welcome orientation letter, it explains things like what those codes mean. It explains the flow. It offers recommendations for how to set yourself up best for success when coming into these sessions. All of the things that I post are going to be noted with these like bright colored bubbles and in bold, and it'll have the link. And then I pin those posts, okay? Pinned posts. If you're on a computer, you come up to this little guy over here on the right-hand side of the screen. It says pinned messages. And here you'll see all of the pinned messages. If I start at the bottom, you see from the beginning up, welcome and orientation letter. This one here is all the gene key charts for that course. There's a folder for resources, and then we get into it. Session 1, Session 2, Session 3, Session 4, right? And so this is where you go to look for all of your class information. And this is also the same place where we can all chat and have conversations back and forth, right? So all through here was where we were talking and having conversations and checking in about class the next week. So when we're in this chat, the people that are in that little left column are all a part of these calls. They all have access to all of this stuff. In the main Discord itself in AOTSS, you'll see a lot of other students from past classes. And so if you have questions you want to ask, you can go up into the connection category, and there's a peer study group, which might end up be shifting to like a lab, right? Lab discussions. There's a voice chat channel for hopping on and talking about Alchemy of the Seasons stuff. There is a public lounge where you can share something and glean insight from other folks who have traveled in through this school and through the community. Right now we have folks anywhere from 1st through 4th year, right? So being able to tap into those people, they're deeper in their experiment, right? You know, they've had a lot of different things come up in their world, and they can be a really great resource. This is about a community. This is about tapping into our collective strengths. Okay, so I think that's what I wanted to cover on the Discord. Let's go into, where are we? Okay, so this is just giving you a quick glimpse. This is my chart. I'm going to show you two different versions of a chart. This is the Jovian archive. This is the source where it originated from's mapping. One of the reasons why I use an advanced one as well is because I want the variables, which on this chart are only showed by the little arrows on either side. And for certain folks, especially of the non-energy types and mostly the projectors, really can value from having that deeper understanding of what things for them are places where they can dive into, how do I find this in my body, right? So I'm not going to get into what all that means now. I'm just showing you visually what this advanced system looks like. I like 64 keys. I love its variable nuances. Some of its languaging has shifted from the source material, which for me retained the value of the bottom line that Ra'udu was trying to explain, and it shifts it just a little bit so that it's coming almost like from a different fractals perspective, and I really love it. It resonates well. So I do work with both sides of things. So when people sign up for a class, you're going to get both charts. You're going to get the basic chart that's like this. That is the one that's super simple, that you're not like really distracted by. And then you'll also get this one here. And there's some tiny microscopic nuances that I will explain as we go along. Generally speaking, you'll probably focus on this one, just because that's the one to keep coming back to in a simplistic way. And bottom line, the information, generally speaking, is the same. This one has more in it. Okay, so that's the charts. This is the short workbook that I have been developing. I started developing this for myself when I was trying to track and keep track of all of the details, so that my defined ajna could like lens stack it in a way to be able to see it. And so as I was energetically trying to understand it, my brain said, well, if you type it out and you read it and you look at it, I'll understand it better here. And then when I'm in my lived experience, there's a way for my brain to be able to share that with the rest of my body, right? And so that's kind of what I'm inviting this process in. This is what I'd call the cover sheet. This is the first class that we do is going to cover energy types, strategies, and the mechanics of how we have our types. The second class is going to cover authority centers, and to some degree the motor centers are part of the energy types, right? So we'll spend 3 weeks covering what are these different centers here, what is it in their defined state, in their undefined state, what are the hallmarks of being able to see ourselves in it, what's the little like tricks of the trade, like if you got a defined G center, you're not here to be a shepherd to everybody, you're here to be a lighthouse, you're here to be a shining star, you're here to be a beacon, you're not here to run around and take care of all of the things, right? Be who you are, follow your direction. And so like finding those little tiny encapsulated suggestions for routing someone's experiment, where we get to take that into our, what I call our lived terrain. Okay. Lived terrain is your process of waking up in your skin suit every morning, going about your day, engaging with the people in your world, the conflicts in your world, being able to find yourself in a balanced way of being or not, right? So your lived terrain is your lived life. Where these maps, I see them as like a topographical, you're like looking down on the thing to be able to kind of like see roundabouts where you are and where you might try something new. Okay. So this is about a 10-page one. I have one that's a 45-page and another one that's 120-page. This is a Gates and Keys that I'm starting to pull together. And then some of you may have seen this one floating around on the internet because I took a screen capture of it. And it garnered some interest, and I got to make some changes because brains switch things and some things weren't in there fully. So you'll get this very simple workbook that when you're like at a class and you're like, okay, my head was just so full of stuff, you can come to this one sheet right here, and this is class or session number 1. And so it's like getting a recap in one spot. Right. And so for those who are in this for the deep dive learning of the system, and not everybody is, and that's okay. Over the years, I have discovered, not only for myself, but heard through people in the school, that there is a deep, deep value in just in simply being able to come together and be present for and with those who are doing various different kinds of delves. So if you're finding all of this bit intimidating, you're invited not to if it feels good to. Okay. This is a tiny glimpse at what a folder that looks like that you get for a session. This one is very bloated because this is the beginning of the InnerCartography series, or at least where I started. And it has a lot. Normally there's about 4 documents inside of each folder. But you'll get them like this. You'll get this folder in Discord as a link, and you click on it. And one of the things you're going to want to do if you're following this to learn is come watch the class videos before you come to the session on Wednesday. And so these links take you to private YouTube videos that I've already made and posted up, and you get to watch them kind of one at a time. And each one is anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes. Some weeks have more or less depending on the amount of things that are going on. And so that's, if anything's for like the homework before you show up to class on this next Wednesday would be looking for those videos and trying to get a sense of those and building from there. All right, let's see, where are we here? Is this, nope, this was just an extra tab. All right, last piece. This is what I called InnerCartography Matrix. It has from here starting and running all the way down. Whoops. Let me move that there. We got all 64. Okay, let me show you a little orientation here. If we go back to this chart here, you see all those numbers in the shapes, in the centers, all the way through here on this chart. You see the same thing, all those numbers along the side. You go to this chart here and you have all these numbers and you're like, what's going on? Well, this one over here is the matrix that I have been building for parts of that. Okay, so it's got gene keys in here, it's got I Ching, it has nature connections, which also comes from gene keys. It's got elements in astrology, which are soon going to be breaking up into their own because you'll have emotional bridges and then astrology, and then there's human design mechanics. And cardology I'm going to be building in on the back end. I still have to figure out the process for it. And so this is a way of being able to come in and be inspired by looking at one thing from many different perspectives, right? So like I'll pick one of them and begin to track it. And what I call weaving is like, you know, taking a shadow representation of something, looking and understanding its gift, understanding its essence of where it came from, and then looking at the human design mechanical aspect of the gate to see what value, what component, what gear it's working with inside of our human dynamics. Okay? So this is something you get access to when you're a part of the school. I'm still figuring out how to be able to make it be something that's publishable. I've turned them into posters and I love using them for myself, and other people have been wanting them and wanting to have their own copy, and I'm not quite certain how to do that yet. Just going to try to zoom it out here if it'll go, to give you a glimpse of what it looks like all together. So yeah, that's the whole bit. All right, I think that feels really good. I'm going to come back to see you, and I think I can close that down without making that look too crazy. And I'm just going to check to see if there were any questions that were coming up. Let's see, how do we get there? Okay, I don't see any questions going on, so I think we'll call that a wrap. If you guys have any questions, I look forward to answering them, and I look forward to diving with those who feel the call. Lots of loves, beautiful. Mwah. Until soon. My name is Rainey Ford. I'm an herbalist and inner cartographer, founder of Nematon and Mountain Woman Medicine. If you are interested in purchasing herbal medicines or discovering your inner mapping, please visit my website in the description below. Have a wonderful day, beautifuls.